If you're just getting started learning to homebrew, there can be a lot to take in. But there's no better way to learn than to just jump in and start brewing. So today I put together my top easy fermentations for your first foray into the hobby. I'm TheBruSho and this is TheBruSho. Let's make some easy brews. I know when I first started homebrewing, I had grandiose ideas of what I wanted to ferment. Crazy beer recipes with a ton of unique ingredients and complex steps, but in reality, those were not good first-time brewer projects, and the results speak for themselves. That's why I wanted to put this list together of the 3 easiest homebrews you can make on your first few attempts. Each of them have different learning lessons that'll help you gain some knowledge and experience to expand to more adventurous recipes and styles of fermentations, so you can get some XP in many areas of homebrewing so you can take on anything. With that, let's jump into the first easy fermentation. First up is the easiest on the list, hard cider. This is mainly due to the fact that you only really need 2 ingredients, apple juice and brewer's yeast. Store-bought apple juice works fantastic for this, as I've shown many times before. But if you have a local orchard and the season is right, you can snag some fresh stuff. And the juice is already quite sweet, so no extra sugar is needed. Having an original gravity of about 1.050 or so will lead to about a 5 to 6% ABV drink. All you need to do is put the juice into a fermenter, add yeast, either ale or cider yeast works great, and let it ferment for 1 week. Super simple cider. If you like still cider, then just transfer into bottles, or you can make it fizzy by using bottle conditioning or kegging if you have the capabilities. I have a video on each technique if you're interested. If you find your drink too tart, you can always try adding in non-fermentable sugars to add back in sweetness, but go slow so you don't overdo it. A great improvement that can be made is the use of yeast nutrients. They add some extra minerals that support yeast health during fermentation. This is by no means necessary, but I found that it greatly improved the flavor of my ciders and other non-beer fermentations. So that's all there is to it. From the base recipe, you can then start exploring by adding in flavors and tweaking the recipe to get really interesting and tasty results. But a plain cider is an excellent place to start. The next one you may love or hate. Hard seltzers and teas are super easy to make and easily impress your friends and family with. Much like cider, you really just need to add yeast into a sugary liquid. But for these, you need to add the sugar first to hit the original gravity you desire. For example, with hard seltzers, the base is just H2O, preferably filtered. And then you just add sugar until you hit that original gravity. OG in these fermentations is what drives the ABV, or potential alcohol. So if you want an easy drinking seltzer, you add sugar until you hit something like a 1.035, which should give you about a 4.5% drink. The type of sugar doesn't really matter, but corn sugar or dextrose is a popular one for homebrewing, since it dissolves easily. Otherwise, you might need to heat your water a bit to help the sugar dissolve in. Just make sure to wait for your hot water to cool down to about 70 degrees before adding yeast. As for hard teas, it's basically the same, but you just need to make the tea first, using whatever type of tea you want. I really enjoyed the black hard tea I made last year. Super refreshing. But once the tea is made, add your sugar and then add your yeast. If you have yeast nutrients, great, add them too. Let this ferment for 1 week or until the airlock stops bubbling. From there, serve still or preferably carbonated in whatever method you have at your access. Plain flavoring in these is not the most exciting thing, so consider adding in some flavor extracts to boost the flavor to the next level before packaging. For a lot of people, homebrewed beer is the reason you got started in the hobby. And while you may want to jump into all grain, there are a lot of benefits of brewing extract recipes first, and you can still make awesome beer doing it. Extracts are basically condensed wort, which is the sweet, non-fermented beer. Sometimes they come pre-hopped, but to really ensure you have good tasting extract beer, I recommend adding in some more hops to give it more flavor and nuance. By heating the extract in water and then bringing it to a boil, you can add in different hops to get more complex flavors in the wort. The longer your new hops are in the boil, the more bitterness they'll extract. The shorter they boil, the more flavor and aroma they'll add. Try starting with 1 hop variety and experiment with different amounts and when you add them in. Eventually you can also try doing a partial mash brew, in which you do a mini mash of select grains to help add in more complexity and maltiness to the otherwise one-note malt extract. Either way, once you have the wort, just add the brewer's yeast and let it ferment for a week. Bottle condition or keg and get some tasty beer in your hand. There isn't really much better than that. Now let's talk about some quick callouts and things to be aware of on your first fermentations. Keep things clean and sanitized. This is a major aspect of homebrewing and doesn't get talked about a lot, but for beginners it's a huge factor for whether or not your fermentation turns out good. Using brewing related cleaner and sanitizer helps keep bad bacteria away and ensures your fermentation won't go wacky or become infected. If you need to know more on that subject, check out my video on it. Pick an easy yeast. Ale yeasts are best for beginners since they can do well for the most part at room temperature. But when you exceed 69 degrees Fahrenheit on most ale yeasts, you can start to get some off flavors that are caused by stressed yeast. So if you're fermenting an area that doesn't keep temps below that, go for something like a Belgian yeast strain, or even a Kveik yeast, which can do well in super warm conditions. Honestly, it works great for all three of these fermentations, and it can lead to a very clean and good tasting final product. And I would avoid using lager yeast until you've mastered temperature control. If bottle conditioning, please be careful. Use a conditioning calculator to determine how much extra sugar you need, and make note of your max temp during fermentation. Additionally, make sure your fermentation is completely done before moving on to bottling. As long as you do these things, you should avoid the dreaded bottle bomb. Don't be afraid to start small. Brewing small batches allows you to grow confidence without the fear of wasting a lot of ingredients in case things go south. Plus, you can experiment and brew more to really hone in your skills this way. If you don't have a small fermenter, go make one right now so you can start putting together one of these simple recipes. Lastly, I'll just say, have fun. Trying something new can be stressful, but it's not the end of the world if things don't work out. Don't give up, just keep trying and keep learning. Eventually you'll be brewing up some awesome recipes of your own and impressing all your friends. Let me know if you're just getting started homebrewing, or if you're a seasoned brewer. Do you brew any simple fermentations in between your main brews? I'd love to hear from you, so let me know down below. Thanks so much for watching, cheers, and happy brewing.